the shadow without a face in the mirror. I still remember the day everything started, as if it were just yesterday. My name is Miyako Sera, 24 years old, a freelance photo editor. My job requires an almost obsessive level of detail, can spend hours in front of a computer screen, zooming in on every pixel to fix the tiniest flaws in people's faces. That SYI decided to move to the apartment on the 27th floor of the high-end building by the sea in Fuyuki. The place was quiet, the rent surprisingly cheap for such a prime location, and from the balcony, I could watch the vast ocean, listening to the waves crashing like a soothing lullaby. I thought it would be the perfect spot to focus on my work, away from the hustle and bustle of the big city. Little did I know that behind the glamorous facade of this glass-covered tower, there were secrets that would make me question my own reality. I arrived in Fuyuki on a bright, sunny afternoon. The building, called Fuyuki Tower, soared high with 30 floors, its exterior all glass reflecting the blue sea. The building manager, an elderly thin man named Tanaka, led me up in the elevator. The 27th floor is the highest occupied level, he said in a monotone voice, like he was reciting from memory. It's not fully finished yet, so there are few residents, but it's very peaceful, Miss Sera. The elevator glided smoothly, its walls entirely mirrored, making me feel like I was lost in an endless maze. When the doors opened, the hallway stretched out before me, polished granite floors, and large mirrors hanging on both walls, from floor to ceiling. They were designed to make the space feel bigger, but under the harsh white fluorescent lights, they gave off a cold, watchful vibe. My apartment was number 2705, compact but modern. I quickly unpacked, setting up my workspace by the window overlooking the sea. Computer, large monitor, and a stack of photos to edit. That was my entire life back then. I'm not the superstitious type. In fact, I'm quite practical, even a bit dry. My ability to recognize faces, what doctors call hyper-recognition, makes me an expert in my field. Just one glance at someone, and I can remember the details of their face, the shape of their eyes, the curve of their nose, even the smallest moles. It's like a superpower that helps me spot errors in photos quickly, but it can also be exhausting because my brain never stops cataloging. The first few days passed smoothly. I took on orders from regular clients, editing portrait sets for an advertising company. Sitting at my desk with the sound of the sea in the background, I felt content. The neighbors on this floor were sparse, just a handful, living sporadically. There was this guy named Kato Ren in room 2712, a few doors down. He was about 28, tall, with long black hair tied back neatly, and he always smiled warmly when greeting me in the hallway. "Welcome to the cloud floor, Miyako," he said the first time we met. His voice friendly but with something distant, like he was looking through me rather than at me. I memorized his face instantly. Square jaw, slightly slanted eyes, and a small faint scar on his right cheek, probably from a childhood accident. Easy to remember, like every other face. The 27th floor hallway was where I spent most of my time walking, from my room to the elevator and down to the lobby for food runs. Those mirrors there were peculiar. They didn't reflect the red emergency exit lights at the end of the hall, the ones that blinked constantly like a heartbeat. They only reflected people, and at night, under the dim light, they seemed to have a life of their own. The sea breeze blew through the window cracks, creating strange sounds, not just whistling, but like prolonged sighs mixed with the crashing waves. I once thought it was just fatigue playing tricks, but gradually, it became part of my daily routine. The trouble started on an ordinary evening. I was walking from my room to the elevator to grab some late-night coffee. Freelance work often kept me up late. Kato was coming from the opposite direction, about 10 meters away. He waved hello, and I smiled back. But when I glanced into the mirror on the right wall, Kato's reflection was walking ahead of him, not mirroring him parallel as it should, but like the shadow had its own will, stepping a bit faster, leading the way for the real body. I stopped, blinked a few times, and when I looked again, everything was normal. My heart raced, but I told myself, it's just the angle, or light refraction. I kept walking, but from then on, I started paying more attention to those mirrors. As a photo editor, I'm used to analyzing images meticulously. The mirrors on the 27th floor weren't ordinary. Their surfaces were slightly curved at the edges, creating distortion if you stood too close, and the moisture from the sea Fuyuki is right on the coast, so the air is always humid, made them foggy at night. I tried taking pictures of the mirrors with my phone, but when I reviewed them, the images looked normal, nothing odd. Maybe it was just my mind playing games. Work continued. I took on a big project, editing old photos from a local family in Fuyuki, black and white shots from the 1980s, capturing the building during construction. I zoomed in on each one, adjusting contrast and brightness, and noticed a quirky detail. In a few photos, workers standing in front of temporary site mirrors had ... blurred faces. Not from film damage or dust, but like someone had deliberately erased them with an editing tool. Their faces became vague white spaces, devoid of details. I chuckled, thinking it was a coincidence, and moved on. But then, the hallway security cameras started worrying me. The building had a good system, and residents could view it via an app on their phones. The 27th floor often glitched not randomly, but precisely at 2:33 a.m. every day. I discovered this while working late. The first time, I was at my computer editing a portrait when I heard a faint click from the hallway like someone flipping a light switch. I opened the camera app, and the screen suddenly turned to static snow, lasting exactly 1 minute before clearing up. I thought it was a technical glitch and reported it to Mr. Tanaka. It's common on the high floors. Miss Sera, he said indifferently. Sea breeze affects the signals. Don't worry. From then on, my sleep became disrupted. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, lying there listening to the wind sighing in the hallway, my imagination running wild. Those sounds weren't just wind anymore. They resembled whispers, faintly calling my name. I tried recording them with my phone, placing it outside my door, but playback revealed only the crashing waves. Maybe I was imagining it, but my hyper-recognition ability so accurate usually started making me doubt. When I saw Kato in the hallway, I'd scrutinize his face, and sometimes, the memory of the scar on his cheek would fade, like it was being erased. One night, I decided to confront it. Around 2:30 a.m., I put on a jacket, grabbed my phone, and stepped into the hallway. The air was freezing, sea breeze seeping through the windows, making the mirrors even fewer. I stood in front of the largest mirror, near the elevator, staring at my reflection. My face was clear, long black hair cascading down, large tired eyes, thin lips curved in habit. Nothing strange. But at exactly 2:33, in the mirror, behind my back, a figure appeared, tall and thin, dressed in dark clothes, standing a few steps away. It didn't move, just stood there, but where the face should be, ... empty. Not blurred, not obscured, but a complete black void, like a hole in the universe, swallowing all light. I spun around. The hallway was empty, only the wind howling. My heart pounded, cold sweat breaking out. I looked back at the mirror. The figure was still there, and now it was a bit closer, as if approaching. No face, but I felt it watching me, observing through that dark pit. I ran back to my room, double-locked the door, and huddled on the bed until dawn. The next morning, in the sunlight, everything seemed normal. I convinced myself it was a hallucination from sleep deprivation, from work stress. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. My hyper-recognition couldn't deceive MIT, couldn't process a face that didn't exist, and that made my brain ache, like needles pricking. I started talking more with Kato. He was the friendliest neighbor, often inviting me to his balcony for beer while watching the sea. One evening, with the sea breeze blowing strong, we sat there, and I told him about what I'd seen in the mirrors. I hoped he'd laugh it off, say I was imagining things. But Kato was silent for a long time, staring at the dark ocean. "Don't stare into the mirrors too long, Miyako," he said, his voice dropping low. "They're not always reflecting truth. On this 27th floor, the mirrors are like doors." He shared a bit about the floor's history. Before the building's major renovation a few years ago, the 27th floor was a design test area, filled with mirrors to check lighting and space. There was a bizarre incident. A group of residents went missing, but not physically. They were still there, but they lost their faces. Police reports noted they lived normally, but no one could remember their faces. Family, friends, even themselves in mirrors couldn't recognize. They described their own faces as blank, white, like empty paper. Kato whispered, "An old neighbor of mine, ... She stood in front of a mirror too long, then screamed. When we rushed in, she was still there, but her face wasn't a face anymore. It was empty." I shivered, but curiosity overpowered fear. As a freelancer, I had free time, so I started investigating. I scoured the web for old info on Fuyuki Tower. On local forums, there were faded posts from years back. The face loss incident on floor 27. Victims were sketched in police files with blank white faces, no details. An anonymous witness, probably Kato, described the faceless person behind the mirror. They called it Hollowface, a supernatural entity living in reflective surfaces, using mirrors as bridges to the real world. When it touches someone, it doesn't kill them, it erases their face from everyone's memory, isolating them from society. And worse, if you live near it long enough, you start forgetting your own face. I scoffed at first, thinking it was urban legend nonsense. But the following nights, things got worse. Every 2:33, even if I tried to avoid it, through the glitching camera app, I'd see that figure. It wasn't just behind me. Sometimes, it copied others' shapes. Once, it wore clothes identical to Kato's, standing outside my door, but faceless. I called him in the middle of the night. "Kato, where are you?" His voice sleepy. "In my room." "What's wrong, Miyako?" But in the elevator mirror, he was knocking, and the black void where the face should be seemed to be smiling. I began doubting everything around me. My face recognition ability went into serious disarray. When I met Kato, I'd study his face, but the memory of his scar faded more, like someone was wiping it clean. He avoided mirrors more noticeably, always walking close to walls without them, eyes down in the elevator. Once, we rode the elevator together, and he huddled in the corner, avoiding the mirrored walls. "Why are you so afraid of mirrors, Kato?" I asked. He paused, then whispered, "Because it took my face already. Not the real one, but the memory of it. Now no one remembers my true face, not even me. I was replaced once. Miyako Hollowface borrowed my shape, and since then, people see me as a ghost." His words chilled me to the bone. I tried sketching Kato's face from memory, an exercise I often did to practice, but my hand trembled, and the face section on paper ... blank. My brain couldn't fill in the details anymore. I started avoiding mirrors, covering them with towels in the bathroom, but the hallway was unavoidable. Every pass, I felt someone watching from within, and the sighing wind turned into calls. "Miyako, ... Miyako, ... Double quotes. The tension peaked when a massive storm hit Fuyuki. Winds howled like demons. Rain lashed the windows. The hallway shook slightly. Sea moisture fogged all mirrors, creating twisted shapes. I stayed up all night at my computer trying to work as a distraction. But in the photo I was editing a model portrait, the face suddenly blurred. Not a file error, but like it was erased. I looked out the window, the sea pitch black, waves raging like they wanted to swallow the building. Then 2:33 arrived. The howling wind turned into clear whispers. "Miyako, ... Look at me." I couldn't resist anymore. Got up, opened the door to the hallway. Freezing wind whipped my face, the hallway dark from flickering lights due to the storm. I approached the largest mirror, its surface foggy like mist. I stood before it, staring at my reflection. My face wasn't mine anymore. Strange eyes, twisted mouth, like someone else's. I touched my real face, skin still warm, but in the mirror, it began fading, turning into a black void. Hollowface was behind, close enough to touch, and I felt icy breath on my neck. I turned, no one, but looking back, it had touched my reflection, and memories of my own face started vanishing. I ran back to my room, locked the door, and stared into the small bathroom mirror. The face was there, but I didn't recognize it. Who is Miyako Sera? Whose eyes are these? Nose, mouth all alien like a mask. I screamed, smashed the mirror, blood flowing from my hand, but the physical pain paled against the terror devouring my mind. Since then, I don't dare look in mirrors. Kato disappeared, or is he still there? But I've forgotten his face. The 27th floor remains peaceful on the surface, sea breeze sighing every night, but I know Hollowface is somewhere in those reflective surfaces, waiting. Every time I hear knocking from inside the broken mirror, wonder, if I open up, what else will I lose? My last memory of myself, or this reality itself? I still live here, editing photos without daring to look at the faces. Those images now are all faceless figures, and I wonder, you, reading this, are you looking in a mirror right now? And the shadow behind you ... Does it have a face, or has it already started erasing you from the world, bit by bit?